Autism, masking, and sexuality. This is a video that I have been putting off for a little bit, mainly because I've wanted to do a lot of self-searching, trying to understand and piece things together in my own life in order to be able to talk about it. I've touched on the overlap between queerness and autism, neurodivergence before. If you guys would like to see that video, I will link it down below. But I've been doing a lot of work since that video was filmed on myself and trying to understand how I've ended up here, and I guess I want to talk about that today. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Elena, and I was diagnosed with autism at age 25. I say that in every video for those of you who don't know me, as I said, duh. But you guys may or may not know that I have been online for 12 years now. I started my first YouTube channel back when I was in high school. And within that time of having this first YouTube channel, I did do a lot of talking about boyfriends and what relationships meant to me. I even showcased a couple of boyfriends on this channel. Basically, there was this never-ending question on this channel of why can't I make relationships work? Why do I self-sabotage? And there was just this complete fascination with the male species and trying to understand how to have a working relationship with them, basically. To be very honest with you guys, I haven't been in a relationship in around 3 years now or so. And the last relationship that I was in, I was with a man, and he was the idea of perfect, the best definition of perfect. He was what you would want your child to marry, and he was there for me pre-diagnosis and then post-diagnosis, and I still self-sabotaged, and I could never understand why I did that. What came up in the relationship with him was he questioned my sexuality, and I kind of was trying to discover what that meant with him, because he was my best friend. But of course you can't really do that when you're in a romantic relationship, and so that brings me here today. And where I'm at now is I know myself now. I'm queer. I identify as queer. I'm now leaning more toward women and believe that that's what has always been missing in my life. And that's been, again, another late discovery in my life. And I really believe that it is down to my autism that has brought me here, or delayed me understanding my sexuality. So I want to kind of go into why has that happened and why that might have happened for you. And yeah, let's talk about it. So of course, masking. I have been a very, very high masker my entire life. Nothing felt authentic and nothing felt comfortable for me. No part of my life felt comfortable for me. So why would my love life be any different? This is, I believe, why I never questioned it. I never felt comfortable with these relationships. The only relationship that I really kind of felt comfortable in was the last relationship that I was talking about. But what I have come to understand, that it was this kind of partnership, friendship, but I wasn't romantically needing to be there as much. I think masking presented at a very young age for me as over femininity. So you might have overperformed femininity, that's a hard word to say, or you might have overperformed masculinity because you thought that that's what was correct or expected of you. And I 110% just aligned myself totally to the social norms of being this really pretty little girl in dresses and whatnot, and being what a man would want. in my eyes. So it almost felt like for me that I was playing a role rather than living my life. Like I was almost just getting into characters when I would go on dates. I would just be getting dressed up and be like, what do I want to wear that will go good with how he looks? And I really just wasn't engaged in like two people, whether they mesh well together or not. Again, it was just this mechanical robotic way of looking at things. You know, I think as well, like I grew up in a very, very small town. And so the spectrum of sexuality was not something that I saw exemplified in front of me. My idea of gay was very, very small. Not by any means bad either. I have a lot of gay family members and have been around a lot of gay people in my life, and it's never been something that I've seen as wrong or bad, but there just wasn't a lot of gay people that looked like me. And so because of this, my sexuality was not really something that I tried to kind of understand. I certainly didn't talk about it with too many people in my life. I mean, there were certainly the questions and the inner questioning that I had going on, but because I wasn't around it and I wasn't hearing anyone else question these things, like why was I going to kind of bring that up? So I believe that another reason for why I have only just kind of understood my sexuality is I really did not know how to read my own internal cues. I really wasn't entirely sure what attraction was meant to feel like, because as I said, I always felt uncomfortable. So even those that I had crushes on. And that's to say, like, I did have crushes and I did have crushes on men, but I really didn't know what that meant beyond the crush. Like, once the crush liked you back, what am I meant to do with that now? I have no idea. For those of you who have known me in real life and maybe when I was a teenager or, in my early 20s, you would know that I had crushes and I had a lot of them. But the key thing that I've noticed about myself is they were always kind of removed from me. So they might have been people that I didn't really kind of associate with, I didn't talk to at all, or it might have been someone on TV, or definitely like someone in a band who I was obsessing over. Like that, I had obsessions on people that I could never really get to. And so in some way it allowed me to kind of be normal and have crushes, but it didn't have the pressure or the weight of liking someone around me. So then it developed into a relationship and then everything that kind of came along with it, I want to tell you guys this story, and it's, so strange. I've always questioned what the hell kind of happened, but there was this guy, when I was a teenager that I was absolutely besotted with. I had a little photo of him printed out and I hid it in my room somewhere, so only I knew that there was this photo, and, did all the obsession type things. There was a time, I was probably 15 years old, and we basically on Facebook one Friday night kind of admit to each other that we like each other. We had never spoken in person before, and this all happened on Facebook one night, and we basically like confessed, and I felt the thrill of that moment of, oh my God, this person who I deem attractive and who I have a crush on likes me. And I remember like we finished up the conversation and he told me good night and he put like a little X, good night X. And I remember feeling absolutely ill at the thought that suddenly the nature of our relationship has changed from we don't talk, we don't know each other, we secretly have a crush on each other. Now it's been confirmed, and now what does that mean? What does that pressure mean? And I just never spoke to him after that. Like, we never spoke in real life after that. We liked each other, we spoke on Facebook, and that's all I could manage. I was so behind in my life, but I just thought it was so funny because I just couldn't show up at all in the ways that my friends were showing up as. I think as well, rigid thinking played a big part of this. So when I got my first boyfriend, and it was, later than those that I was around. I was 19 years old and I was into him, I gotten past, oh my God, we both like each other, it's heading somewhere. I got past those barriers that had previously been there in my life, as I just said, and suddenly I was in this relationship. And did it feel all that I wanted it to be? Not really, but it was comfortable enough, keyword comfortable enough, for me to just explore, basically. And so, I just went along with it. And I assumed, because of my black and white rigid thinking, well, I definitely can't be gay or queer or whatever because I'm dating a man right now. And I wouldn't be doing that if I was a lesbian or if I was queer. And so that's what kind of paved the way for the rest of my relationships. My problem wasn't that I wasn't into men, it was just that I couldn't find the right one. And I held that belief until about a year ago. Maybe a lot of you will relate to this one, but I had a lot of trouble identifying my own emotions and my own identity because of it. I really struggled to understand what attraction meant, what I was meant to do with that. I had been conditioned, and for so many of us girls, we have been conditioned to want to be attractive to men. I wanted the male gaze. I wanted men to find me good looking. But beyond that point, I now realize I didn't want that. I didn't want the romance. I didn't want the relationship. Find me attractive and that's it. If men found me attractive, I believe that it helped me to feel worthy and validated my place in the world, that I was passing as neurotypical, that if men find me attractive, then I'm obviously doing something right. And so this has really been ingrained in me that, a man not finding me attractive isn't the be all and end all. But it was I held it up here for so many years of my life. So it's just really unpacking a whole lot of buried beliefs, very toxic beliefs that may have come from your upbringing or the society that we live in, different narratives you've heard, your own self-impressions, I guess. Finally, I just want to say, I was a complete fawner in my relationships. I would just go along with whatever the man wanted, whether I wanted it or not. I would confuse compliance with desire or attraction. And this isn't always the case. This got me into a lot of really awful situations. I'm still definitely trying to understand this one and how I show up and how I'm allowed to say no and all of those things. But it's been a pretty unhealthy way of coping, a way of looking at relationships. So all of this to say, I have been dating women, and I have felt a different level of peace and understanding and excitement that was never ever present with men. But where the confusion lay for me is I still find men attractive. I still can walk on the street and go, that's an attractive man. So I really tried to understand, and again, I feel like this is my black and white thinking showing up, what does it mean? What does any of this mean? And so for me, I went online and I basically went on to ChatGPT, which can be sometimes extremely helpful when you're trying to unpack your thoughts. Basically, what it computed out to me was this split attraction model, and this was incredibly helpful, and I wanted to share it with you guys because I thought it could be helpful for those of you who might be in a similar position to me, or maybe just trying to understand what sexuality means as a spectrum. Just like autism is a spectrum, sexuality is. I'm trying to know what any of it means. So I've got my computer just here and I'm going to read it off. So this is basically showing the different kinds of attraction that you can feel for someone. So the first is aesthetic attraction. So you notice someone is physically attractive. So I can do this with both men and women. Then you have romantic attraction, where you want emotional closeness or a relationship. You have sexual attraction, where you want sexual contact or intimacy. Then you have sensual attraction, where you want touch or physical affection, but not necessarily sexual. And finally, you have emotional attraction, where you want deep emotional intimacy. So basically, what ChatGPT told me is I might feel aesthetic or emotional attraction to men. So basically, I enjoy being desired by them, but not sexual or romantic attraction. Whereas I might feel all of these gaze with women, and I can confirm that I do. That is kind of where I've ended up. Really understanding that, through the world that I live in, the world that I have lived in, I have been conditioned to want the male gaze, and I love men to find me attractive, and I enjoy that. I can flirt with men and I can enjoy that interaction, but does it go beyond that point where I really want to be with them and develop a long-lasting, forever relationship with them? I don't believe so. I'm also trying to be open about this and trying to find a level of grey, sitting in the grey, which can be really distressing for someone like me. But nonetheless, I realize that I have to be this way to allow myself to grow and develop and learn new things. And so this has been incredibly helpful for me. So I just wanted to leave this there for you guys. This is as far as I've gotten in terms of, understanding why my life has ended up the way that it has, and why now my identity is something that I am completely exploring, down to my fashion sense, how I present to the world, how I feel about myself when I wear different clothes, and how I interact with people. All of this plays such a big part in taking off the mask. And really that's what I'm trying to do and encourage you guys to do, is ultimately take off your mask and be the authentic you. So I really hope that this was helpful, or at least gave you something to think about. I know this won't apply to a lot of my viewers, but hopefully some. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you'd like to see more of my content, I will link all my links down below, as always. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys very soon. Bye. That was a weird hand thing. Bye.